Hey class, Mr. Miles here, back with another video. And instead of discussing more vocabulary on today, I'd like for us to do something a little more practical. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a spreadsheet together, right? So this is going to be considered a guided spreadsheet. So I want you to follow along with me for this tutorial. And the first thing we're going to do, of course, is we have to open up Microsoft Excel. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the bottom left of our screen. And what I like to do is I type in the name of the software that I'm looking for, and that is Excel. So we're going to create a blank workbook. And then from here, what I do is split the screen. So on one side, I'm going to put the spreadsheet, and on the other side, I'm going to put the instructions that I'll be using. And in your case, what you can do is on one side, you put the spreadsheet, and on the other side, you can use this video so that you can follow along and perform all the actions just as I do it. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to shrink the screen. I'm going to drag my spreadsheet here, and on this side, it's going to be my instructions. All right, and these are the instructions that we will be following. Same instructions that are available for you in Canvas. So the first instruction says for us to create a blank spreadsheet. We've done that. The second instruction says we have to name the file. All right, so and in order to name the file, we have to save it. So whenever we're working in Microsoft Office, there's a difference between how we save here and how we would normally do it when we're using Google applications. So pay close attention as I do this. So the first thing we're going to do is going to click File, and then we want to click on Save As. And we have to save it to the computer. All right, now depending on how you're using the Microsoft Excel, it will not save to the cloud. All right, so it's this is going to be a local file, meaning it's going to be saved on this device. So we want to click Browse. Once you click Browse, it's going to bring up a list of your file folders, right? And you should be able to find one that has your name. So click on the name, your name, which is your file folder, and regardless of what Cumberland County Schools computer you are on, this particular file will be accessible to you. All right, so you can be in this classroom, you can be in another classroom, you can even be in another school on a physical desktop computer, and you should be able to retrieve this file. So when it comes to saving and creating file names, it's important that we include our name in the file name, because we're going to be submitting this, or we could be emailing it to someone, and we want them to know who the file is from. So we're going to type our name. I like to use an underscore, and then I'm going to say lesson 1, lesson 2. This is lesson 2. Yes, lesson 2, guided spreadsheet. And you're going to do the same thing that we would do if we're using Google applications. We have to name the file, or else we're going to have a folder full of untitled files, and we don't want that. So you're going to click on your name. For me, I'm going to just click on my documents, and we're going to save it there. So now our file is named. And if you look at the top of the document, of the Microsoft Excel, you'll see that that document name is available. All right, so let's follow through our instructions. It says that we're going to type the title in cell A1. We're going to type the word invoice in all caps. It's going to be bold and it's going to be size 14 font in cell A1. So in all caps, we're going to type the word invoice. It's going to be bold. It's going to be size 14. And it's going to be centered. Bold caps. Okay. Next, it says we're going to enter the column headings. All right, and this text is going to be bold, size 14, and centered. So from cell A3, B3, C3, D3, and E3, we're going to type these words just as we see them. So starting in cell A3, we're going to type item number, quantity, unit, description, unit price, and amount. And what I'll do is I'll format these all at once. So I'll click and drag and I'll demonstrate that again. So I clicked on the first and I drag it. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to click bold. We're going to change the size to 14. And we're going to center this text. All right, and you'll notice that some of our words are kind of cut off because the width of the columns, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. So we have to fix that. And in order to fix that, what we'll do, I may be jumping a little bit ahead, but we're going to go ahead and take care of that now. So, and in order to fix it, what we're going to do is you got to come up here to the columns. So where the letters are, and in between the letters, you should put your cursor. So put your cursor in between the letters and you'll get this symbol here. It's like an arrow on two sides of a line. So put your cursor there and you want to double tap. And as you double click, you'll notice how the columns automatically adjust. So you can do it that way, and you can also like click and drag to a particular width. But if you double tap, it kind of automatically fixes it for us. So now that that is done, what we're going to do, it says that we have to type the remaining data as indicated in the table below. And this is going to be size 12 font. So we're going to do a little bit of data entry. So believe it or not, people get paid big money to enter data just like this. So I'm starting by entering the item numbers. I'm going to go towards the quantities. We're just creating our table. Unit of measurements. almost finished. Okay. All right, so that's all entered. The last column is going to be blank. We're going to use equations, or from our notes, formulas. We're going to use formulas to help us solve column F. All right, so don't run to your calculator to try to solve it. There is a much more efficient way to do this. So for number 4, our instruction says to merge and center the title in row 1 across columns A through F. All right, so row 1 is here. And it says we're going to merge and center it across columns A through F. So what you'll do is you'll click in the middle of that cell. All right, do not click on that small square. We'll talk about that later. So click in the middle of the cell and we're going to drag through F. And it says that we're going to merge and center. It says we're going to merge and center that. All right, so we're looking for this button here. All right, see it says merge and center. So this is the button that we're looking for. It's in our alignment group, merge and center. All right, so select your cells, click that button, and we can move on. Next, it says that we're going to edit the text. It says change the number symbol in cell A3 to the word number. All right, so find cell A3, and we're going to change that symbol to the word number. Okay, and you'll notice that thing happen again. We're unable to see all of our text. But in step number 6, it says we're going to wrap and center that text. So there's a formatting feature called wrap text that we're going to use. All right, so we're going to click in cell A3 and we're going to wrap that text. All right, so you see that symbol there? It is also in the alignment group. So we're going to click that and you'll notice how it creates space for those words that are not visible. So it takes them and it puts them on the next line. So that's wrap text. Line 7 says readjust all column widths. So we did that earlier. So to readjust the column widths, what we would do is we'll come to the letters here, and in between those letters, we want to find that symbol. So that line with the arrows on both sides. So that's how we readjust our column widths. And we did that earlier. If you haven't done it already, go ahead and take care of it now. So for step 8, it says format the data in the unit price column as currency. Format that data as currency. So in the unit price column, what we'll do, we'll select this particular cell range. So that's E4 through E7. And we're going to format it as currency. Now to format it, we want to come to this area here in our ribbon. So we're going to click that and we're looking for the dollar sign. All right, and that formats our numbers as currency. And you'll notice it adds the dollar signs. So one thing to remember whenever we're doing spreadsheets is that if a number is considered money or currency, we don't type the dollar sign. Instead, we're going to format that particular number as currency. And then any formulas or functions that are associated with those numbers would apply that currency formatting. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now let's move on to step number 9. It says enter a formula in the last column to calculate the amount. All right, so we're going to calculate the amount. All right, and like I mentioned earlier, we are not going to be using a calculator to do this. All right, so the beautiful thing about using spreadsheets is that it does all of the calculations for us right here in this software. And that formula is going to be unit price times quantity. The unit price times the quantity. So let's click in cell F4, and to enter a formula, we have to start with the equal sign. All right, so you type equals, and then it says we're going to do unit price times. All right, and the multiplication symbol here is the ampersand, is what it's called. And it's on the same button as the number 8. So we got cell E4 times B4. So you can click on those cells or you can type in the cell addresses. So after you got that equation, you press enter and voila, look, it gives us the total. So it's a lot simpler to do it this way than to use a calculator. In step 10, it says that we're going to copy the formula to all the cells in the amount column. And this is also quite simple. So what we'll do is you should notice a small blue square in the bottom right of that particular cell that is selected. So click on that. You should see it like a crosshair, and you're going to drag it down. So this is how we copy, and it will apply that same formula to these other cells. So we don't have to type it over and over again. So that's how you copy. Now for step number 11, it says that we're going to type the word title in cell A8. So in cell A8, we're going to type the word title. Not title, but total. Cell A8, we're going to type the word total. This text is going to be bold. It's going to be initial caps, which means only the first letter in that word is capitalized. It's going to be size 14. And there we have it. Step 12 says we're going to use a function. So a function is a new vocab term, and you're going to learn about that very soon. So function formula, kind of similar, except a function is a more simple way to do a formula. So we're going to use a function to add the amounts in the last column. And we're going to place that particular amount in cell F8. All right, and it's also going to be formatted as currency. So in cell F8, the function that we're going to use is called the sum function. All right, and same meaning that you all are familiar with from math. So sum is just the addition of all the numbers. So instead of us writing the formula F4 plus F5 plus F6 plus F7, we're just going to calculate the sum of F4 through F7. So that is the function. And then we press enter, and it gives us the total of all of those numbers. So that's how the function feature works. It's a simplified formula. It simplifies the formulas for us. So for step 13, it says that we're going to add an accounting border. So an accounting border is a single line above and below the values. And then it says we're going to add a double line below the total in cell F8. All right, so the accounting border is a single line above and below the values. Now the values in this spreadsheet is from A4 through F7. So those are all of our values. Everything else is a label or a heading of some sort. So we're going to select that, and then we have to go to our border options. And we're going to add a single line above this text and below it. So here in our border options, we can click to add a bottom border, and we're going to add a top border, just like that. And it says we have to add a double line below the total. So that's cell F8. So we'll click on F8, and we're going to add a double line. All right, and if we look through our options, you see it says bottom double border, and we're going to add that there, just like that. And I think that's it. All right, so now there's some questions for you to answer. So there's questions A, B, and C. So I'm going to show you how to include those responses in this spreadsheet. So it says in cell A10, we're going to type the word questions. So cell A10. So we're going to type questions. This is going to be bold text. And in cell B10, it says answers. So this is going to be bold as well. All right, so we got 3 questions. We got questions A, questions B, and questions C. All right, and the answers to questions A, B, and C are going to go in column B. So question A says, which cell range contains values? All right, so the values are from A4 through F7. So that's the cell range address of all of the values. So from A4 through F7. And the reason these are values are because these are the values that are representing these different types of line items, which are the labels. So we got item number is a label, quantity is a label, unit description, unit price, and amount is a label. All right, so that's our answer for number B. It says which cell range contains labels, and that would be cells A3 through F3 contains the labels. Now question C says, what happens when you use the wrap text feature? All right, and just for a reminder, I'll demonstrate. So remember in cell A3 how we wrap that text. So this is what it looks like when the text is not wrapped, but when it is wrapped, that's what happens. So hopefully that helps you out some. All right, so now that we're finished with our spreadsheet, let's save it. All right, because one thing about these type of files is that they do not save themselves. So it's important that we periodically save it, because if we close it without saving it, it is gone. And that is not pretty, especially if you need it. All right, so we're going to click File. And now that we've already named it, we can just click Save, and it's saved. So now now that you're finished, you can upload it into Canvas and get your grade. And that concludes our guided practice activity. Peace.